Hi, everybody. This is Tommy Lasorda. Listen to The Sandlot, the best thing that could happen to you.
The one constant through all the years, Ray, has been baseball.
Are you crying?
It's a part of our past, Ray.
There's no crying.
It reminds us of all that once was good.
There's no crying in baseball.
Just a bit outside.
Baseball will be very, very good to me.
It's a simple game. You throw the ball, you hit the ball, you catch the ball.
Personally, I think we got hosed on that.
The Sandlot Radio Network is on the air. And now, starting pitcher for the Sandlots, former pro player and Major League scout, Ted Howard.
This is National League All-Star Justin Upton.
Hi, this is Shane Victorino.
Hi, this is Albert Pujols.
Hi, this is David Wright.
It's Derek Jeter of the New York Yankees, and you're listening to The Sandlot.
Welcome to The Sandlot. It's where everybody plays. It's a place of our own. It's our field. It's our neighborhood. It's our team. It's our home. The Sandlot is presented by the Sandlot Radio Network and sponsored by Terramar Collective, Econo Air, South Bay Credit Union, Max Graphics LA, and Grit Sports Collective. The Sandlot returns for its 12th season and second on our new home, Fox Sports Radio 610 AM and 106.7 FM. We look forward to bringing you the childhood Sandlot stories from the biggest names in baseball, including players, coaches, scouts, front office personnel, and even media, as they reflect on their road to the big leagues. Last week on The Sandlot, we had a former Major League player, now color guy for Rockies TV, longtime friend of The Sandlot, Jeff Houston. He was on for 2 segments of our Who's Hot and Who's Not in MLB Rundown. We also had another former MLB player, manager, and current bench coach and hitting coach for the Colorado Rockies, baseball lifer Clint Hurdle. This week on The Sandlot, we have our resident baseball fanatic and producer Nick Wright for our Who's Hot, Who's Not Major League Baseball coverage. We also have another baseball fanatic who started as an equipment manager at Mississippi State under legendary college coach Ron Polk. We have Major League player agent Bo McKinnis. Right now, we have our resident baseball fanatic and producer Nick Wright. Nick, thanks for being a special guest host on The Sandlot.
Tad, it's great to be back. And just to remind the listeners out there, this is not the Nick Wright from FS1 that you see on TV who's really annoying. No, it's good to be back. How can I not start it off again with Aaron Judge? Tad, is this not one of the best hitting seasons that we've ever seen that's happening? I mean, he's just a shade under 400. His last 15 games, he's hitting 393. He's just been a monster this year.
15 games hitting 393, and that brought his average down. He's now under 400. And, he was over 400 right up until just a few days ago, but he's still hot. And the thing to hit 400, you got to do it constantly. So that's why people don't understand how hard it is for that figure to actually happen in a season.
His pace, could this be the best hitting season in baseball history thus far?
I think so, but no, you got to do it for 162 games, and he is streaky. He'll go through a slump at some point where he'll come back to reality, and if he hits in the 350 range, I would be super, super impressed.
I'm going to have to go across the country here. How can I not go with Ohtani? He's hitting 300 for the year. His last 3 games, he's had a home run. 2 of those home runs are leadoff home runs. Between Judge and Ohtani, we're seeing 2 of the best in the league.
And he's got 20 already and 11 stolen bases.
Leading the league.
So we might end up with another at least 40-40 type season. He's on a pace to maybe hit 60 home runs.
I got to go to a team that was hot. They won 8 in a row, swept the Dodgers, but in classic fashion, they lost 4 straight now. It's the Angels. I got to go with my guy, Taylor Ward, who won AL Player of the Week. His last 7 games, he's hit 360. He's been mashing. How about Taylor Ward?
Yeah, he's got 15 home runs and 49 RBI. And that's when you think about 49 RBI, he's like third in all of baseball in RBI.
I got to go to a guy I brought up last time as well. He's been really heating up. Christian Yelich, who his last 7 games been hitting 300. Just last night, he had a grand slam. It's kind of interesting. It's his first ever walk-off home run, and he did it in fashion by hitting a grand salami. How about Christian Yelich so far this year? Heating up.
It's good to see it. I told you before that I really like him as a player and a guy, and I think that he has the ability to have a solid season. And as long as he's healthy, he'll be one of those guys that we're talking about throughout the whole year.
Let's go to Houston and Jose Altuve. His last 7 games, he's hitting 500. He has been an absolute heater. Had 2 home runs just the other game against the Athletics, 3 RBIs. Altuve's heating up.
the smallest guy in baseball with the biggest heart, the guy that's got one of the best stories, and who has been so good for the Astros for so long. He's putting up Hall of Fame numbers.
He really is. I mean, shout out to him, all the short kings out there. Even though I can't stand the Astros, got to respect Jose Altuve. And here's a guy I believe I brought up who was on not hot the last time I was on, Carlos Correa. And the last 7 games, he's hitting .381. He just had a game with 1 home run, a few RBIs. Carlos Correa finally having a little resurgence here.
And Carlos Correa is that type of player. He's the type of player that can put a team on his back. And if he does that, that team will be that much better because he is a player that can carry a team.
Just real quick, before we go to the guys who aren't hot, Shohei Ohtani leading the league with 20 home runs. Shout out to Cal Raleigh from Seattle, right on his tail with 19. How about him?
This is a guy that's got killer raw power. To be a catcher and to be hitting balls out of the park consistently like that, you just have to wonder if he can be in the lineup for enough games throughout the season to maintain that pace.
And also shout out to Kyle Schwarber, who just keeps hitting bombs. He's tied with Aaron Judge with 18. Gotta love Schwarbomb. He just keeps plugging along as well.
And Corbin Carroll, another guy that's not big in stature, but has unbelievable power, has 16 home runs, and he's hitting .259. So another guy that we can look at throughout the season to be right up there with production.
Just also a quick shout out to Freddie Freeman. Isn't he just consistently hot throughout his career? He's hitting .356 behind Aaron Judge, who's first at .395. Freddie Freeman, he's just never going to go away.
To me, he's got the best swing in baseball, and his approach at the plate is to hit line drives, and every once in a while, it'll have the type of backspin that carries it out of the park. But his idea is to hit the ball in gaps, in holes in the defense, and he's as good as anybody's been in the last 30 years of doing it.
Now, Tad, let's go over to the guys who aren't so hot. He hasn't been the worst. For a guy who's almost worth $1 billion, Juan Soto, his last 7 games only hitting 115, last 15, 127, and his average for the year is 228. But just for the price that's paid, I feel like Mets fans are going nuts.
The Mets fans are going nuts. The Yankees fans are going nuts because that ballpark suited him very well over there with the Yankees.
Oh, yeah.
And he had such a great season. He got all the way to the World Series. And then you leave and went to the other New York team where you're going to get heckled no matter what. Now, if you don't just produce at a level that screams $1 billion, everybody's going to be on you.
I've seen a lot of Mets, media and people. Could this be another Bobby Bonilla situation? Isn't the Mets still paying him like $1 million a year? A lot of Mets fans are freaking out. This could be like Bobby Bonilla 2.0.
If it's not a good fit, they'll end up figuring out how to dump it.
Let's go over to Texas. Marcus Semien from the Rangers. He's been pretty rough this year. 176 average, only hitting 167 his last 15. Texas so far, after winning the World Series just a few years ago, Texas has kind of taken a step back.
He has to produce for them or they're not a very good team. He's got to be a guy that does Marcus Semien production for that team to be good. Corey Seager can't put that whole team on his back.
And I want to go back to New York. Austin Wells, really popular Yankee. Just this year, only hitting 206, only hitting 200, 174 his last 15 games. And I know the Yankees are looking good. For them he kind of faltered a little bit in the postseason, especially the World Series. I feel like Austin Wells has not been that great this season.
When you're behind the plate, it's hard to hit. And he's got some holes, and they're going to exploit it at the major league level. Nowadays with the analytics, man, they really know how to pitch to. As long as the pitchers can execute, they can get him out.
One more guy I want to go to, Boston Red Sox, Trevor Story, who hasn't had a great story so far. He's only hitting 120 his last 7 games, 143 his last 15. What about Trevor Story, Boston Red Sox, just kind of being middling?
He started hot. That's the thing about baseball. You can go into these slumps where all of a sudden your numbers are dwindling, and before you know it, it's out of control, and he's looking not like he's going to have a very productive year. But he's also a streaky guy that can turn it around very fast. Now, when this kind of thing happens, I question his health because he was hurt. And did he come back too early?
Yeah, he really might have. All right, Ted, I want to pivot here. I want to go to some of the most dominant pitchers who've been hot. And I got to start out with Daniel Skubal of the Detroit Tigers. How about this guy? His last outing against Cleveland, complete game, only 2 hits. His hardest thrown ball was literally the last pitch. How about this guy, Skubal from Detroit?
I call him the Screwball because he's impossible to hit. And he's probably the best pitcher in baseball right now. And he's got an edge to him. He pitches like a man that's possessed. He is going after hitters like he hates them. And that's old school for me. And you haven't seen a lefty starter throw that hard for that long in a really long time. 13 Ks, complete game. It's the first complete game of his career because they just don't allow it anymore. But to go 94 pitches and punch out 13, that's very rare.
And especially like his last pitch striking out was his hardest thrown ball in the game going 9 innings. Just that guy. I mean, he has Cy Young written all over him. Going over to Pittsburgh, because you mentioned Screwball, the best pitcher in the game right now. And I was going to ask you about him or either Paul Skeens, who is a phenom in his own right. He's got only a 2.30 ERA so far this year, only giving up a few runs over his last couple games. I know you just said Screwball's the best pitcher, but I mean, Paul Skeens has to be right there.
He is right there, and he's on a team that doesn't ever really support him with the offense. You can tell that he's frustrated. He wants to be on a winner. They can build a franchise around him, but the question is how quickly will the Pirates do it, and will they do it fast enough for him to just not lose his competitive edge that he has right now? He has, as a right-hander, the best stuff maybe. The lefty, though, over there with Detroit is just, you don't see lefties like that, and I think he's going to continue to dominate. He won the Triple Crown last year in pitching. He might do it again this year.
Now let's go back to Texas. This guy's been unbelievable this year. Nathan Eovaldi, only a 1.56 ERA. His last 3 games, only giving up 1 run.
He's as nasty as anybody. And when he's on, he's the type of guy that could throw a no-no because he's got that nastiest stuff. Now, command is always an issue. If he's on, he's almost unhittable. But he does have command issues. Inconsistency is in his delivery. But man, he's a horse.
And let's go back to the Dodgers. Yoshinobu Yamamoto, who only has just a shade under 2 ERA. He's at 197, only giving up a few runs over his last couple games. The Dodgers, they have Ohtani looking to maybe start pitching again in a couple weeks. But Yamamoto right now for the Dodgers has been holding it down.
He is a really unbelievable pitcher. His craft has been perfected, and until he's been seen by the league more, he's going to continue to be really tough to hit. Second time around, it might be a little different, but man, he has really done a good job so far, and it's helped the Dodgers because they were counting on Blake Snell to be the guy, one of the biggest trade acquisitions in a long time. He has yet to do anything, and now he's on the 60-day DL, so that's a big deal.
Let's go back across the country here. Got to go to New York. Kind of like the most low-key how good he's been. But Max Fried with the Yankees, only a 1.29 ERA. His last few games, only giving up a few runs. I feel like no one's, even for the Yankees, not a lot of people are talking about Max Fried's season because of the emergence of Screwball and Paul Skeens. But Max Fried's been unbelievable this year.
And without him, the Yankees are in trouble. Minuscule ERA means he's going out and dominating every game. And to have a guy every 5th day that you know is going to give you a chance. And again, lefties are tough to hit if they have command. He's got command. He's got good stuff. And let's just hope that he continues to pitch like this throughout the season because the Yankees really need an ace.
And here's like a little known guy, maybe because he plays in Kansas City, but Chris Bubic, he's got a 1.45 ERA. His last few starts only giving up a run. I got to be honest with you, I've barely heard of him, and he's been unbelievable this year.
Well, in Kansas City, they go under the radar, so they've got good young starting pitching that happens. The Royals always go under the radar.
And let's just really quick, just go along some of the guys who aren't hot with pitching. Kyle Freeland for the Colorado Rockies. Been pretty brutal, giving up 7 runs his last several starts. He's at a 5.86 ERA. Just, Colorado really having a rough season so far.
It's a tough place to pitch, and he's a guy that if he was anywhere else might be doing okay.
And I feel bad for the Oakland Athletics fans because they're playing in Sacramento until they move to Vegas. But there's this poor guy named JP Sears. His last couple starts, he's given up 20 runs. And he's at a 5.18 ERA for the season. Oakland's had a rough go over the last couple of years.
Playing out of a AAA ballpark this year has got to be tough for everybody.
And one more, Arizona Diamondbacks, Zach Gallen. I want to say I brought him up the last time I was on, too. I feel bad for him. But he's given up 14 runs over his last couple games at a 5.25 ERA. And Arizona, kind of tough being in that division, but Zach Gallen, pretty bad.
The year they went to the World Series, he was their ace. So without him pitching the way he has in the past, that's a tough road for the D-backs.
And that was Who's Hot and Who's Not.
Thanks to our resident baseball fanatic and producer, Nick Wright, for breaking down who's hot and who's not in MLB. Don't go away. We have a professional baseball player agent, Bo McKinnis, We're going to find out how he navigates Major League Baseball contracts for his players when we return to the Sandlot on KAVL, Fox Sports Radio, 610 AM and 106.7 FM. We are Fox Sports, the Sandlot. It's where everybody plays. I'm your host, Tad Powers. The Sandlot is presented by the Sandlot Radio Network.
This is Clint Barmas, and I'm still listening to The Sandlot.
This is former Major League pitcher Dave Dravecki, and you are listening to The Sandlot.
This is Doug Brokel of the Houston Astros, and you're listening to The Sandlot.
Dusty Baker, manager of the Cincinnati Reds, and you're listening to The Sandlot.
This is Joe Mauer of the Minnesota Twins, and you're listening to The Sandlot.
Terramar Collective isn't just a brand, it's a tribute. Born from the Southern California coast and inspired by the legacy of a father who helped shape the board riding world literally. Terramar Collective repurposes vintage flannels and rare finds, blending timeless style with surf heritage. Honor the past, wear the story. Find us on Instagram at Terramar Collective. Do you want more than just wins for your kids? Do you want confidence, character, and grit? At Grit Sports Collective, we help young athletes play with purpose and train with passion. With elite coaching in baseball and basketball, we're building more than skills, we're building competitors. Because greatness starts with mindset and is earned through sweat. Grit Sports Collective. Play fierce, train harder. Now enrolling in San Diego, California. Visit gritsportscollective.com and sign up today. Step up to the plate with EconoAir's solar services. Their solar solutions deliver unbeatable energy savings, keeping your power bills low all season long. Be a game changer. Switch to clean energy today. Sandlot listeners mention the show for an exclusive discount on maintenance or repair. Call EconoAir at 714-333-0130 and hit your energy savings out of the park. With so many banking options out there, why choose South Bay Credit Union? As a nonprofit credit union, they're here to serve you, not shareholders. That means they're able to provide better rates, fewer fees, and more valuable benefits to empower their members to live better and do better. You want to master your money? South Bay Credit Union puts you in control of your money with everyday banking solutions. From checking accounts to home mortgages, credit cards to auto loans, their members have access to the tools they need to achieve their financial goals now and in the future.
Hi, everybody. This is Rick Mundy, former Major League player, former All-Star, and now broadcaster of the Los Angeles Dodgers. You're tuned in exactly where you need to be. It's Sandlot, and it's baseball.
Especially Willie, Mickey, and the Duke.
Welcome back to the Sandlot. It's where everybody plays. We're on Fox Sports 610 AM and 106.7 FM. Thanks again to our special guest host. He's our resident baseball fanatic and producer, Nick Wright. He gave us a great rundown of who's hot and who's not in Major League Baseball. Right now, we have a Major League player agent, Bo McKinnis. We're with Major League Baseball sports agent, Bo McKinnis. Bo, thanks so much for being a guest on the Sandlot.
Thank you for having me. Excited to be here.
Now, we got to give a shout out to a couple people that we're mutually friends with, starting with Billy White, who set this thing up for us. But also, you recently went to a wedding of a friend of ours who's deceased now. God rest his soul, Richie Graham. And you and Billy, that's where you and Billy connected. We've got to give a shout out to both of those. Again, some of my favorite people in the game. Billy White and Richie Graham. So I want to thank you, Bo. And let's talk a little bit about Bo's Sandlot days growing up in Atlanta, Georgia.
Yes, sir. It's moved to Atlanta when I was 4 years old, and my dad, who was a lifelong baseball fan, introduced me to the Braves, and we would head out to the ballpark whenever we could. Actually, at that time, the company my dad worked for had season tickets to the Braves. And my dad was supposed to get the tickets for 2 games a year, but this was the 1970s when the Braves were terrible. So no one wanted to go to the games. And so anytime someone did not want to use the tickets, my dad would raise his hand and say, "We'll go." And so we ended up going so many times, and just created some great memories there watching those bad 1970s Braves. I tell you how rough it was then is pretty much if a foul ball was hit in Atlanta Fulton County Stadium, we took turns as to who was going to go get the foul ball. There were so few people there.
So you got a few. You got a few as a kid, Bo, because I went to Wrigley and I had no chance of getting a foul ball. But, man, that was the dream of a kid going to a big league game.
Yeah. Old Atlanta Fulton County Stadium, it was one of those 1970 stadiums, just like Veterans in Philadelphia and Riverfront in Cincinnati, and the one in Oakland that the A's just left this year. And they all had that same look. And Atlanta Fulton County constantly had a smell of a urinal throughout the stadium. But, man, such great memories being there. And talking about Sandlot, the tie-in there, we had some great promotions days back then, and like they would have Bat Day. And I've kidded with my own son, who's now 15, that in today's world, we couldn't have Bat Day at the stadium. People would be slugging each other over the head. But, man, back then, it was a big deal. And I still have my bats from 2 Bat Days at Atlanta. One was Darrell Evans, and I want to say I got that in about 1974. And then the other was Gary Matthews, which I got in 1977, the outfielder.
The Sarge. I loved the Sarge. I worked with him with the Cubs, so I know him really well.
Oh, nice. Well, man, when we'd get out and play in the yard, those were the bats I would use. And of course, they were promotional bats, so it was heavy wood. It's certainly nothing they would ever use in a major league game. But as a kid, I just thought those were awesome, to have Darrell Evans and Gary Matthews on my bats. And, man, just created so many good memories in my front yard. And, back then, I didn't know what a 40-man roster was. At the big league level, we've got a 40-man roster, but of course only now 26 are active in the major leagues at any one time. But I had the Braves roster, and I just assumed all 40 guys on there were in the dugout somewhere. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, I didn't know any better. And so at various times in my front yard, I would pretend to be all 40 of the Atlanta Braves on that roster. And my buddies and I would get out there, and I don't know if you're familiar with these names, but my buddy Kevin Jacobs there in Atlanta, he would pretend to be Dick Ruthven.
Oh, yeah.
And I would be the catcher, Biff Pocoroba. And just love that. I would alternate between Pocoroba and Vic Carell. You got to be diehard Braves fans to know those names. But, man, we had so many good times out there in the yard playing those games and pretending to be those bad Braves.
I grew up as a Cub fan in that same era, and my grandfather was a White Sox fan. So if I went to a game with my grandfather, we went to see White Sox. And one time I was given it was Bat Day, like you said, 31-inch, 31-ounce that said Go Sox on it. That was the bat I used it wasn't Little League, it was like Junior League. I used that bat for 3 or 4 years as my bat until they came out with the silver and green. We called it Sheena Easton, which was the bat that everybody used from that point on. But going into my freshman year in high school, I was using that 31-inch, 31-ounce Go Sox wooden bat given to me by the Chicago White Sox on a Bat Day. And like you said, we can't do Bat Day anymore because there would be riots in the stadium.
It's such a shame. My wife, I don't know if she's aggravated or just marvels at the fact that I have held on to all of my giveaways from way back when. And, I've got those bats. We have batting glove day, and, man, I'd wear those batting gloves in Little League. And it was really kind of a bootleg batting glove that they gave away at the stadium. And it had the Braves Indian logo on the back of it. But I guess that's supposed to be good old Chief Nakahoma on there. Man, I've got my Atlanta Braves belt buckle from then. Just, so many good things. My mom knew how much those things meant to me, so she never threw them away. And now I have them in my house, and just bring up so many great memories from back in that time.
I'm curious if you were like me as a kid. My wake-up call in the morning was the paper hitting the front porch because now I can go read the box scores. And my great-grandfather, he was a Cub fan. I used to sit on his lap and watch the game with him, and he would explain it to me. And then he would pull out the box scores and show me how to read a box score. And then he would tell me, hey, Sunday's the big day because we got all the stats for all the players from the best to the worst and hitting and pitching and team. And so I spent Sunday morning scouring that newspaper, and I knew Pete Rose was hitting 323 and who was right behind him. I knew from top to bottom what everybody was hitting and who the pitching ERA leaders were. A whole bit, man. And I'm like 8.
You're talking to my heart right there. And living in a major city like Atlanta, the Atlanta newspaper was on top of it. And to me, that was the Bible, to get those box scores every morning and have that as I ate my cereal. And I tie in the memory. I wasn't even a fan of Frosted Flakes, but I wanted the baseball cards that were in Frosted Flakes. So I'd ask my mom to buy those, and then we'd get the new box, and I would pull the whole bag of cereal out of the box, turn it upside down, take the scissors, and cut the bottom of the bag where you're not supposed to open it because the card was always there. And so I'd pull it out, and I'd basically trash the bag of cereal there. But yeah, I would have my Frosted Flakes and be reading those box scores in the newspaper. And man, such good memories. And what you just said, the Sundays when it would list all the statistics, and you'd almost get blurry-eyed going through that list. But it was so much fun to take a look and see it all.
Another educational process that we had at that age, I collected baseball cards, and it was, just go buy a 10-cent pack, get the gum out of it. It was terrible. And then start sorting. And I'd sort them by teams. I'd sort them by all-stars. You'd always be playing with them and reading the back, so you knew all this information about all the guys. And it really educated you about the history of the game. And the only thing that stinks about that, I handled those cards so much, Bo, that my $30,000 card from one of my favorite players of all time, Roberto Clemente, I handled it so much that I was offered $30 for that card.
It was the loving touch there.
Yes.
Yeah. You getting on the subject of baseball cards, that's all of these subjects we're on are what got me to my career today, because it was the going to the Braves games and creating those memories of those players there, tied in with going out in my front yard and pretending to be those players, to jumping into the newspaper and reading those box scores. Then one summer, and I remember this was the summer, my older brother went to camp, and my parents wanted to treat us equally. And so my mom said, well, camp costs X number of dollars. We're not just going to go buy you a present. And my dad said, well, let's walk down to the store and I'll buy you some baseball cards, which, I don't know, they were like 25 cents at the time. And so he buys me a bunch of packs, and my brother was away for the whole week. So the next day we walk down there again, and he buys me a bunch more. And the next day we go down, he buys me a bunch more. And the thing baseball cards did for me was it showed me that those names I was reading in the box scores were real people. It truly helped me to put a face with a name. And so that, that stretched out my baseball knowledge and my baseball interest. And then the next big step after that buddy I mentioned earlier, Kevin Jacobs, he had me come over to his house, and he had gotten a Sports Illustrated board game that was All-Star Baseball. And so we split them up, American League, National League, and we picked out our lineup with, it had a little card for each player, and you'd roll the dice and get the result off the card. And Kevin's over there keeping score. And then he showed me after the game where not only was he keeping score, but he was also adding up statistics from all of the games that he had played. Well, man, I was hooked at that point. So I took all my money I'd saved from cutting lawns and asked my mom to drive me to the store so I could buy the same game. And later that led to me getting Stratomatic baseball. You know Stratomatic?
Yeah, of course.
Got that one, and then I got another one that was similar by the name of Long Ball, and then there was another one that was an Avalon Hill game by the name of Status Pro Major League Baseball. And man, I would play those board games just endlessly and keep statistics and manage the teams, and got addicted to keeping a scorecard. And it's interesting now that I am where I am in life, and I look back to that point, it was each of those little moments, the going to the Braves games, playing in the yard, reading the newspaper, the baseball cards, and then the board games. It was all laying the foundation for where I am today. And as a kid, it made for a wonderful childhood and a real love affair with baseball. But then it's unbelievably led to a lifelong career in baseball.
He's Bo McKinnis. He represents Major League Baseball players as an agent. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk about how these loves for the game as a child led to him having a long career in the game. Bo McKinnis, thanks for being a guest on The Sandlot. You've been listening to The Sandlot right here on Fox Sports 610 AM and 106.7 FM. I'm your host, Tad Powers. The Sandlot, it's where everybody plays. Don't go away. We have more from Bo McKinnis when we return.
Hey, it's former Major League Baseball player Matt Holliday, and I'm actually known as Jackson Holliday's dad these days. My son was the number 1 overall pick, and I got another one on the way. And we still listen to Sandlot Radio. Proud to be part of the Sandlot Radio family.
Terramar Collective isn't just a brand, it's a tribute. Born from the Southern California coast and inspired by the legacy of a father who helped shape the board riding world literally. Terramar Collective repurposes vintage flannels and rare finds, blending timeless style with surf heritage. Honor the past, wear the story. Find us on Instagram at Terramar Collective.
South Bay Credit Union features 3 centrally located branches in the South Bay, 24/7 time-saving digital banking tools, over 30,000 free ATMs nationwide, and a 100% commitment to the South Bay. South Bay Credit Union cares about their community. They've contributed over 3,600 employee volunteer hours. Over 20 local organizations have received donations or sponsorships, and they have raised over $150,000 for the Children's Miracle Network. South Bay Credit Union. Live better, do better, bank better.
Do you want more than just wins for your kids? Do you want confidence, character, and grit? At Grit Sports Collective, we help young athletes play with purpose and train with passion. With elite coaching in baseball and basketball, we're building more than skills, we're building competitors. Because greatness starts with mindset and is earned through sweat. Grit Sports Collective. Play fierce, train harder. Now enrolling in San Diego, California. Visit gritsportscollective.com and sign up today.
The heat was unbearable. My AC was striking out and my house felt like a summer game with no shade. Then I called EconoAir. What a game changer. They knocked the heat out of the park and now I'm comfortable year-round. Give EconoAir a call today at 714-333-0130. That's 714-333-0130. Sandlot listeners mention the show for an exclusive discount on maintenance or repair with EconoAir.
Hey folks, this is Andy Van Slyke. If you really want the inside information, the inside secrets, what it means to be a big league player, listen to The Sandlot. You're going to get a perspective about relationships with husbands and wives at the big league level, about sons and fathers at the big league level, and why these guys who got to the big leagues, why they have so much passion. It's because they all started on The Sandlot. So if you want to be educated about baseball, listen to The Sandlot. This is Andy Van Slyke.
Yeah, you win some, you lose some. It ain't always home runs, and that's just the way life plays. If we were a team.
Welcome back to The Sandlot. It's where everybody plays, right here on Fox Sports 610 AM and 106.7 FM. Right now, we have more from Major League Baseball player agent Bo McKinnis. We're back with Bo McKinnis. He's a Major League Baseball agent. Some of the things we talked about in that first segment, those were things that build the mind of a general manager to me. Knowing the ins and outs of not just stats, but how they work and the games that you talked about. Those were all like future Moneyball versions for me. This is what made you think about strategies and player moves and things like that. And most kids, you know, they just played and they didn't pay attention. I was one of the only guys that did that box score reading and stat reading. And so if somebody asked me, what's Pete Rose hitting right now? I knew. So they knew that I was the go-to, hey, how many home runs does Mike Schmidt have? Because I knew. So none of them did that, though. Me and you were unique in that sense, Bo.
That's it. They didn't know what they were missing out on there. I just love all of that stuff. Man, it was just a passion, a true love affair. And it stretched out to where my older brother, when he was 10, was playing Little League, and each Little League team was supposed to have a parent keep the scorebook. And I was playing Little League on another field as an 8-year-old. And when my game ended, I came over to my brother's game, and they didn't have an adult who knew how to keep the scorebook. And my mom said, well, Bo knows how to do it. And so at 8 years old, they put me up in the little bootleg press box they had, and I was keeping the scorebook for my brother's team. And I was up there with an adult who was doing the book for the opposing team, and just loved every minute of it. I thought that was so cool. I'm a numbers guy, and I'm a baseball guy, and just saw the scorebook as a way of doing both.
Back when I used to go to the Cubs or White Sox, who was it? My uncle, my grandpa, they were keeping score. And so I was keeping score. You know, you walk in and they give you that scorecard where you can do it. Not too many people do it, but Cub fans, I got to tell you, there's a lot of Cub fans that were keeping their own scorecard. And so I would do that, and it really kept you in the game so that you didn't miss anything. And I rarely got up to go to the bathroom. I remember having to pee so bad a couple of times, but it was like, I'm going to miss something here. That scorecard was a big deal for me, and I still have a stack of those things. So, Bo, you and I were both kind of stat rats as kids, and we knew a little bit more about the inside of the game than the kids that we hung out with and played with. And it was because we were paying attention at a different level. And I got to say, that really helped my future of the game, because it's a thinking man's game. And if you're a smart baseball player, you can usually outthink and outwit the other guys that aren't using their noggin.
Amen. And it's funny. Anytime someone mentions or makes the comment that baseball is slow, it pinches my last nerve. And I just think, man, you're just not seeing the picture here, just all the intricacies. And that's just where my brain always went to, was all the little details, and related to what we were just talking about on keeping score. And it's, even as a kid, it made me want to be a coach. And one day, and I remember this well, I was 8 years old, and my dad said to me, he said, Mississippi State just hired a new baseball coach. And they said the guy he said the guy that they hired had at one time been rumored to be a candidate to be the manager of the Braves. Well, as a kid, I just couldn't believe that. I couldn't believe that a college could get someone who had even been in the discussion to be manager of the Braves. I mean, first, being a kid in Atlanta, I thought the Braves were larger than life. But then secondly, my dad was sharing with me that it was in the Atlanta newspaper that this guy had been a candidate to be manager of the Braves. Well, as I mentioned earlier, I thought the Atlanta newspaper was the Bible of baseball. So if they said it, it must be true. And it turned out that it was Coach Ron Polk. Coach Polk had been at Georgia Southern and taken them to the College World Series. And now Mississippi State was hiring him. But in those lean Atlanta Braves years, at one point they were changing the manager, and a writer for the Atlanta newspaper had just listed some potential candidate and had put Coach Polk's name on that list. But at 8 years old, I didn't fully understand that. I just thought, oh my goodness, here's a guy who could have been manager of the Braves, and now a college has hired him. So I became so interested in Coach Polk. And when I was 11, my family moved to Virginia. We moved to Waynesboro, Virginia, the heart of the Valley Summer Baseball League. And when I was 12, Santa Claus brought me the Ron Polk playbook, the Ron Polk baseball playbook, which is truly the Bible of baseball coaching for so many baseball coaches across the country. And so I was just hooked at that point. I just so wanted to be a college baseball coach. And I grew very fast. By the time I was a freshman in high school, I was actually 6'5", and we were in a heavy basketball area. So I played basketball almost every day of the year. But I still so much wanted to be a baseball coach that I went to the high school baseball coach at my school and asked him if I could be the student manager of the baseball team. And I just felt like being the manager, I would be closer to him and be more like a coach. And I've kidded that I became our nation's tallest foul ball chaser. I'm so thankful that I had that opportunity. I had a wonderful high school coach and had a great 4 years with him. And when it came time to get out of high school, I was really torn. Half of me wanted to be a college baseball coach, and the other half of me was thinking, that's probably not realistic. And my other interest was going to Wall Street and being in investment banking. And so I thought, well, I'm going to try to spend undergrad being a college coach, and then I'll have graduate school to work on the Wall Street part if I decide to go that route. So in my senior year of high school, Mississippi State was actually number one in the nation. That was the great 1985 team of Will Clark, Rafael Palmeiro, Jeff Brantley, Bobby Thigpen. But more so to me, the biggest celebrity on that team was Coach Ron Polk. And I wrote Coach Polk a letter, and him being the wonderful person that he is, a week after me sticking that letter in the mail, he gave me a phone call there at my house in Virginia and asked me if I was going to be in the area anytime soon and to come by. And so my mom and I hopped in the car and drove the 700 miles down to Starkville, Mississippi. And I went in there, and little did I know, with them being number one in the nation, there were numerous people who wanted to be the student manager of the Mississippi State baseball team. And so this was truly an interview with Coach Polk, and thank the Lord he offered me the position. So I went to Mississippi State, majored in accounting, but more so got my degree in baseball from Coach Polk, who's in, I believe, 9 Halls of Fame now. Our assistant coach was Pat McMahon, who I believe is in 5 Halls of Fame. He later took the University of Florida to the national championship game as its head coach, and has worked the last about 18 years with the New York Yankees in player development. Just a wonderful, wonderful person. So I got an incredible baseball education there. But a neat thing happened in the wintertime. The major league players would come back to Starkville to work out on the Mississippi State campus on our field. And me being the student manager, I had the keys to the locker room, and those big league guys wanted to work out before the team got there. So they would kind of suck up to me to get me to get there early to let them in. And that was Clark and Palmeiro and Brantley and those guys. And so it was just mind-blowing to me that I was even able to be around those guys and become friends with them. And little did I know that later those guys would help guide what was going to be my future career. By the time I was a senior, we were once again number one in the nation. Richie Graham was on that team. The Cobra was an amazing left-handed hitter. And at that time, the Southeastern Conference travel rosters were limited to 22. Well, 17 of our 22 ultimately played professional baseball.
Wow.
We were just it was just a stacked team. Now, only 2 of the guys actually made it to the major leagues, but 17 actually played in the minor leagues at some point. And it was one of those guys, it was a player by the name of Pete Young, who was Richie Graham's best friend. Pete was our third baseman and our closer. And he received accolades as the All-American utility position. He was being bombarded by agents, and Pete actually asked me to represent him. And I was 22 years old at the time. And I said, man, I don't know how. You know, we would go in the locker room each day, and different guys would have letters in their locker from agents. And the players didn't know agents any better than I did. And, you know, they'd open the letter and it'd say, hey, I'm Babe Ruth's agent. I have interest in being your agent. And the guys would think the letters were interesting, but then they'd throw them away. And, you know, the only other thing we knew about agents was the rare times they would pop up in a movie or something. So we got to that summer, and unfortunately we got upset by the University of North Carolina on our home field, so we didn't make it to the College World Series. And by that point, I decided I was going to go to Vanderbilt to business school and go on and go into investment banking. Well, Pete got drafted, and he said, hey, I really do want you to help me. And there wasn't a book on how to be an agent. There wasn't a college class to take to learn how to do the job. And so I was kind of shooting from the hip and trying to help him. And, of course, that was a tremendous compliment that he wanted me to have the position. But, again, I was a young and dumb 22-year-old. And next thing you know, there were 2 other Mississippi State players called me, and they said, hey, we heard you're being Pete's agent. We want you to be ours. Well, at this point, it's getting serious. So I called Coach Polk, and I said, Coach, these guys are giving me an important job here, and I don't know what I'm doing. Yeah, I have some good business instinct, and I'm starting out in business school here, but I really don't know what I'm doing. And Coach Polk gave me some great advice. He said, call everyone you know in professional baseball. General managers, scouting directors, scouts, players. He said all of them interact with agents in a different way. So learn from their experiences. Well, that was tremendous advice. The catch was I didn't know anyone in professional baseball. So I said that back to Coach Polk, and Coach said, okay, well, here, you can take my old school Rolodex. He didn't call it that, but I call it that. And he said, you can call the people I know. Well, that was amazing because that got me in on phone calls. I'd start every phone call out saying, hey, Ron Polk said to tell you hello. And so that gave me instant credibility. And I had some great conversations, but the most important one I had was with Jeff Brantley. And I really looked up to Jeff because Jeff had been the captain of the team at Mississippi State prior to me being there. And he was just known to be a leader and a smart player. And Jeff told me his experiences. He was actually already on his third agent, per se. He'd started out using a family friend. And then the second one he had had these agents contacting him. And so he interviewed some of those and picked the one he liked best of those. And he later pointed out to me, he said, if you pick your agent from the ones who contact you, well, what if you only have bad agents contact you? Then the one you're picking is the best of the bad agents. So he said when he got to the major leagues, he found out that major league players don't fall prey to having agents choose them. Rather, the major league players choose the agent. They're the only ones who truly know who the good agents are. And so he said to me, I never want to hear of you recruiting players. He said, if you're going to do this, I want you to just do a great job for the 3 players who've asked you to represent them. And if you do that, other players will hire you. But he said, I never want to hear of you writing or calling players and just blindly recruiting them. Because he said, you're supposed to be a professional like a doctor or a dentist. And he said, if somebody knocked on your door and said, hey, I'm Babe Ruth's dentist, let me be your dentist, you're not going to hire him to be your dentist. That's just weird. So when I hung up the phone with Jeff, he actually kind of hurt my feelings because I thought, well, nobody knows who I am. So if I don't recruit players, this isn't going to work out. But I respect Jeff too much to go against his advice. So I thought, well, I'll just take care of these 3 guys until they find a real agent, and then I'll go on and go to Wall Street. And it turned out he was exactly right. I loved those 3 guys so much and just took such great care of them that their teammates started asking about me. So by the time I got out of Vanderbilt, I was representing 12 players. Fast forward, I've now had 149 play at the major league level. I've worked with 35 first-round draft picks, and truly it's been without recruiting players. It's been from just taking care of the ones I have, and they've gotten me more.
We're going to go to a break. We'll be right back with more from baseball fanatic turned agent Bo McKinnis when we return right here on Fox Sports 610 AM and 106.7 FM. The Sandlot, it's where everybody plays. I'm your host, Tad Powers. The Sandlot is presented by the Sandlot Radio Network.
My name is Ethan Holiday. Play shortstop for the Stillwater High School baseball team. I am now part of the Sandlot.
Do you want more than just wins for your kids? Do you want confidence, character, and grit? At Grit Sports Collective, we help young athletes play with purpose and train with passion. With elite coaching in baseball and basketball, we're building more than skills, we're building competitors. Because greatness starts with mindset and is earned through sweat. Grit Sports Collective. Play fierce, train harder. Now enrolling in San Diego, California. Visit gritsportscollective.com and sign up today. Terramar Collective isn't just a brand, it's a tribute. Born from the Southern California coast and inspired by the legacy of a father who helped shape the board riding world literally. Terramar Collective repurposes vintage flannels and rare finds, blending timeless style with surf heritage. Honor the past, wear the story. Find us on Instagram at Terramar Collective.
Looking for printed apparel for your school, business, sports team, or company event? Max Graphics LA is your solution. Go to maxgraphicsla.com today and check out our options. We offer screen printing, embroidery, and more on clothes from major suppliers. Our graphic designers can help you with your logo or design. We also offer custom online retail shops where we take care of all orders and fulfillment. Visit our website at maxgraphicsla.com or call 310-595-1195 today to get started.
This is Aaron Cook.
This is Aaron Rose.
This is Al Leiter.
This is Chase Headley.
This is Clint Hurdle of the Colorado Rockies, and I listen to The Sandlot.
Welcome back to The Sandlot right here on Fox Sports 610 AM and 106.7 FM, KAVL. the Antelope Valley's sports talk station. I'm your host, Tad Powers. Now we have more from MLB player agent, super agent, Southern gentleman, Bo McKinnis. Well, Bo, one of the things that I want people to understand is that the agent's role is through the draft, trying to get them the biggest bonus they can. And then after that, they just sit around and wait for that guy to get to the big leagues, but not for 1 year, not for 2, but for 3. That's when you come in and start negotiating, because everything's set money through the minor leagues and all the way through that first 3 years in the big leagues. So a lot of people don't understand that when you take a risk on a guy, you're not going to make any money off of him for a number of years until his 3rd year in the big leagues. Is that kind of the way it goes?
That's how it's been the bulk of my career. I tell you, things have shifted here in recent years, because for the longest time, the signing bonuses in the Major League Baseball draft, they lagged behind the NFL and the NBA. We were far behind. But when the draft system somewhat changed going into the 2012 year, and we started the bonus pool system as part of MLB and the Players Union negotiating that system, it increased the dollar amount so that they're much more in line with, or to some degree beyond, what the NBA and NFL are. And so what we found is that's caused more people to become baseball agents, and they subsequently target amateur players with the thought process of taking 4 or 5% of that signing bonus, because $2 million has now leaked into the second round of the draft, where when you were coming out, when Richie Graham was coming out, the last guy in the first round didn't even get 100,000. So it has very much changed the agent profession. But what you were referencing, that's the agent business I know, which is an agent couldn't make a living off of signing bonuses. And it was very much making a commitment to players to just take care of them until they got to that 3rd year in the major leagues and could be eligible for salary arbitration.
And if you're good at what you do, you're going to keep the guy. And that means you're spending money on him. You're taking care of him at a level that it's a way of making them keep you, because they can fire you at any time, go get somebody else. And what happens to a lot of agents, they'll get fired right before that arbitration is going to happen. And the guy that's going to go to arbitration goes and gets Boris or one of these big name dudes, thinking that they're going to kill it in arbitration.
Well, and sometimes that's warranted, not to defend anyone leaving their agent, but that, those fellows who are targeting the 14 and 15-year-olds with the thought of just trying to take some of their signing bonus money. There are a lot of players and parents that hire that individual because they just plain don't know any better. They don't have enough information or knowledge to discern who's a good agent and a bad agent. And so they'll hire that individual, and then once the player gets deep into their major league career, they realize, hey, maybe I didn't hire the best guy when I was 14 or 15, and maybe I do need to get someone who has more experience at salary arbitration or free agency at the major league level. So again, I'm certainly not promoting or condoning firing an agent, but in those instances, I think it's warranted.
Over the years, you've had some huge contracts that you've negotiated, namely the David Price deal. At one point, that was the biggest deal in baseball, and it was the biggest deal for the Red Sox.
It was, man. It was interesting meeting David when he was here at Vanderbilt. I live in Nashville now, and when he was here at Vanderbilt as a sophomore, telling folks in the Nashville community, I'd never even met David, but I just thought he was such an outstanding player that everyone should go watch him play, because we weren't going to see anyone else like him, maybe ever, come through here. It was just such a joy to watch him play at the collegiate level. And then thankfully, after his sophomore year, his dad called me and we got introduced. And it was such a blessing to get to work with him throughout his career and to go through the contract situation with him there and his signing bonus in the draft, which did set a record for the largest signing bonus ever given to a pitcher at that time. And then once we got into his salary arbitration years, we set a couple of salary arbitration records, and then to set the record with his free agent contract. And I always say with every contract, it's certain times you can say this contract's more because of the player. Other times it's more because of the agent. The perfect situation is when it's both, that the player earned the contract and that the agent earned his keep and, got the guy even beyond what he should have gotten. And I like to think David and I made a good team.
I believe that a good agent will keep his guy throughout his career, and you've done that. That says a lot to me, Bo, because I know a lot of guys that have flip-flopped agents 4 or 5 times, and it's kind of sad because they leave a guy that really committed to him behind, and then somebody else goes and really gets paid. So it is kind of a cutthroat business, but Bo, you figured out how to navigate it. And just by chance, because Bo didn't plan on being an agent, it just kind of fell into his lap, and it's become a really awesome situation for Bo McKinnis.
Man, thank you for saying that. I give credit to Jeff Brantley for that. If Jeff had not given me that advice or really given me instructions to solely focus on the players I have and don't spend time focusing on the players I don't have, a la recruiting, it truly changed my career and changed my whole approach going through this. And that's what's caused those retention of players. It's caused deeper relationships, and it's caused those players to hang on to me. And it's been a true blessing.
He's super agent Bo McKinnis. I want to thank you so much for being a guest on the Sandlot.
Thank you so much for having me, Tad. It was a lot of fun.
Thanks for listening to the 7th Sandlot show of the 2025 season. You can listen to the Sandlot every Saturday morning right here on Fox Sports 610 AM and 106.7 FM. Also streamed live on 610foxsports.com. You can catch replays of this year's and past season's episodes on the Sandlot Radio Show SoundCloud page. Be sure to follow us on Instagram at Sandlot Radio Show for video content with the players. We also have links to our YouTube and Spotify and SiriusXM MLB Network. Please explore the SandlotRadioNetwork.com website to check out our reels and images from our long history of covering everything from the Sandlot to the big leagues. If you're interested in advertising your business on the Sandlot Radio Show, give us a call at 303-350-0655 or send us a message to the website. We want to thank all of our guests on today's show. We had our resident baseball fanatic and producer, Nick Wright. In our Who's Hot and Who's Not opening segment, we also featured a true Southern gentleman, Major League Baseball player agent Bo McKinnis. He's represented 146 Major League players in his lifetime. Not to mention a bunch of other guys that probably didn't get to the big leagues, but 146 to get there. Be sure to tune in next week as we'll have more great guests all season long. The Sandlot is presented by the Sandlot Radio Network and sponsored by Terramar Collective, Econo Air, South Bay Credit Union, Grit Sports Collective, and Max Graphics and Printing. The Sandlot, it's where everybody plays. It's a place of our own. It's our field. It's our neighborhood. It's our team. It's our home. I'm your host, Tad Powers.
Is this heaven?
It's Iowa. Is there a heaven?
Oh, yeah. It's the place dreams come true.
Hey, Dad? You want to have a catch?
I'd like that.
Terramar Collective isn't just a brand, it's a tribute. Born from the Southern California coast and inspired by the legacy of a father who helped shape the board riding world literally. Terramar Collective repurposes vintage flannels and rare finds, blending timeless style with surf heritage. Honor the past, wear the story. Find us on Instagram at Terramar Collective. With so many banking options out there, why choose South Bay Credit Union? As a nonprofit credit union, they're here to serve you, not shareholders. That means they're able to provide better rates, fewer fees, and more valuable benefits to empower their members to live better and do better. You want to master your money? South Bay Credit Union puts you in control of your money with everyday banking solutions. From checking accounts to home mortgages, credit cards to auto loans, their members have access to the tools they need to achieve their financial goals now and in the future.
Looking for printed apparel for your school, business, sports team, or company event? Max Graphics LA is your solution. Go to maxgraphicsla.com today and check out our options. We offer screen printing, embroidery, and more on clothes from major suppliers. Our graphic designers can help you with your logo or design. We also offer custom online retail shops where we take care of all orders and fulfillment. Visit our website at maxgraphicsla.com or call 310-595-1195 today to get started.
Step up to the plate with EconoAir's solar services. Their solar solutions deliver unbeatable energy savings, keeping your power bills low all season long. Be a game changer. Switch to clean energy today. Sandlot listeners mention the show for an exclusive discount on maintenance or repair. Call EconoAir at 714-333-0130 and hit your energy savings out of the park.